No, no toca. Okay, here we go. Control de televisión. And here we are, an unannounced video. We got 9 people, and it's unannounced video on purpose. It's gonna go for a little bit less than an hour. And we have Francisco Javier from Spain. Francisco Javier was my right-hand man at the Bellota Con. He helped me with filming the live stream. And Francisco, it's great to have you. Great to have you. So we're gonna go like for an hour, maybe less. We're going to actually play maybe one or maybe 2 turns of this game here. This is Stalingrad Advance to the Volga. And this is a game that's caught the attention of a lot of people lately. And so we will be going through 2 turns if we can. Al Johnson is here also. We got Dante Edmundo. So welcome, everybody. So this is a game that is really first in its class. It's by Michael Rinella, and it's the first one in the Solitaire Area Movement series. And it borrows a lot of mechanics from Area Impulse games. And that's what I like Area Impulse games. I like the way they play. They usually are very playable. You can play in one sitting. And of course, the Battle of Stalingrad is a topic that I'm really interested about. Now, very briefly, because we want to start playing, you get a mounted map. You see the mounted map board here. We get also counters that are 5/8 of an inch. And as you can see here, the Germans start on the edges of the map, like you see here. And the Russians, which is cool in this game, are these units that the only thing that you see is the terrain type. And you place these counters by terrain type on the board without not knowing what they contain. And there's a lot of nasty surprises that you will be seeing here. We have also Eugenio Mario Pazzielli from Hola Eugenio, and also Dave Smith. Yes. So this is a game where you control the German forces. And let me switch the camera I'm going to use because this one doesn't zoom very well. I'm going to switch to another one, which is this one here. You control the German forces. You're the solo player, and the AI controls the Soviets. And there's two scenarios in the game. We are going to be playing 1 or 2 turns of the main scenario. You see here the turn record track. The main scenario has 9 turns. That's 9 turns that you have to capture 40 of the 50 areas on the map. That's at the end of the game how you win the game. You have to capture 40 of the 50 areas, and at least one of those 40 areas have to be these areas that are next to the Volga, which are the nastier ones, the +4. That's the terrain effects modifier. What we add to the Russian strength there, that's heavy urban terrain. You see there the +3 is light urban terrain. So that's the other type of terrain. And we have elevated terrain like you see there in the little mushroom that adds a +1 with the +2, with the exception, of course, of Mamayev Kurgan, which adds +4. And then there's some spaces, not a lot, that are open terrain, which is the green circle shaped there symbol. So you see there the hospital is +1 and Stalingradsky airfield is a +2. So that's the terrain, and we will be seeing how these Soviet forces pop out. Now let's see very quickly the sequence of play before we begin our play here. And the first phase, every turn, is the dawn phase, and it is during the dawn phase that we add reinforcements. If we would be going now to turn number 2, then we would be adding that unit that you see there, which is the 389th Infantry Division. You see that infantry units have the NATO symbols, and armored units have silhouettes. And the scale here is that infantry is represented by regiments, armored units are represented as battalions. But we are in the first turn of the game, so the Germans don't receive any reinforcements in the first turn of the game. So the next phase is the random events phase, and for that, there is a random events table that I will show you right here. And don't worry, all the random events are bad for the Germans. It's what changes is the degree of how bad they are. They're pretty bad. And you roll 3 dice, and that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to roll 3 dice to see what random event we get. Some of them because of special rules, like I'm going to show you special rule here for the turn 1. You see there that the random events phase, there's the 64th Army breakthrough and 66th Army breakthrough event and logistical pause don't apply in the first turn. So if we roll any of those, it's a no event. So let's get back to the random events table, and we roll 3 d6s. And the roll is, that's an 8. So an 8 here produces logistical pause. That is the event, logistical pause. And what that does is that we have to roll a die, and that number of areas we have to flip all those units to spent. So the lower, the better in terms of the logistical pause. And there was one thing I wanted to show you. One thing I did, which you will see on BGG, I uploaded it, but it's not there. I did these cards like reminders. So each one has the events, and you just place them on the board to remind yourself that that is the event. So in this case, the logistical pause, we'll place it there. And the good thing for us is it's not really going to apply, because that's one of the events that you can see there that you treat as a no result during turn one. So we're lucky the logistical pause doesn't apply, but if this would have been turn two or some other turn, then we would have had to flip a number of areas containing German units to their spent side. It would be pretty bad, but it doesn't apply. So that's good. And the other special rule has to do with supply. That's what we're going to do now. We go now to the supply phase, and we roll 4 dice to see how many supply points we get. Now, let's talk a little bit about supply points. With supply points, you do a lot of stuff in this game. As you can see, let me backtrack a little bit. As you can see here, you can purchase support markers. There's 3 types of support markers in the game, and those are these ones that you see here: air support markers, artillery support markers, and engineer support markers. And what these markers do, you have their effect in the backside of the counter. The air support markers, when you use them in a combat, they subtract from the Soviet defense value a number equal to a die roll. So the surprise here is that you're not going to know what die roll is going to, how much is going to be subtracted. It's going to be from 1 to 6. And I like that, that element of the game, that element of uncertainty. Now, the artillery support markers are pretty straightforward. They add 2 to our attack value. And we have also the engineer support markers, which also add 2 to our attack value. Now, the artillery support markers cost 1 supply point to purchase, the engineers 2. And you may go, well, why do I want to purchase engineers if the artillery and engineers do the same thing? They add +2. Well, if you're playing with the optional rules, the rubble rules, you need engineers in spaces that are heavy urban spaces in order to be able to apply the parent organization bonus of +1. And we'll get to that pretty soon. And then the air support markers are worth 3 supply points. And that's what we have here in the table. You see them: 1 for artillery, 2 for engineer, and 3 points for air support markers. So that's the cost for those support units. Now, in addition, we can use supply points to bring an infantry unit that has been placed in the out of action box back. And here we have units, when they are in this game eliminated, they go to the out of action box, and you can bring them back, infantry units, at a rate of 1 supply point per infantry unit. And you can bring armored units back at a rate of 2 supply points. And finally, the other thing you can use your supply points is to boost your morale. Now, let's talk about morale, because that's another important aspect of this game. We have a morale track here. And at the beginning of the game, the morale is strong. You see it there. It is at level 19. We place it in the 19 box. And as long as morale is between level 19 and level 10, and that's, you have the color coding here for that. You have the color coding. As long as it's in any of these boxes, it's going to be strong. And while morale is strong, the effect is that in any combat situation, while morale is strong, we add 1 to our attack value. Now, morale is going to decrease. There's going to be a lot of bad stuff happening, which decreases morale. And in addition, from turn to turn, every time you move from one turn to another, morale is going to go down by 1. Eventually, if morale goes down to 9, then we flip the morale marker to its backside, and then look what happens. Now, the defense value in combat of Soviet units goes up by 1. So that means this is a 2-point spread here. We lose our +1 in attack, and the Soviets get a +1. So morale is an important consideration in this game. At the beginning of the game, it starts at its highest with 19, but we can spend supply points to increase our morale. So if our morale went down to 9, we can spend 3 supply points, that's a lot, to bring it back to 10 so that we can get that +1 for morale in all our attacks in one turn. So now we're going to roll for supply to see how many supply points we get for this turn. You can save supply points from turn to turn, and we roll 4d6. Now, there is a special rule for the first turn in regards to supply. Let's take a quick look at that rule. It's pretty simple. It's basically, and this, don't worry, this is a photocopy that I highlighted. We treat German supply, the roll for first turn, as the minimum of 16. So if we roll less than 16 with 4 dice, it's going to be 16. So that applies now because the Germans, of course, were preparing for this assault. So they have pretty enough supply for at least this turn. Okay, so let's roll 4d6 and see how much supply we get. The minimum is going to be 16. So we rolled awfully here. We rolled an 8. So because of the special first turn rule, we get 16 supply points. So we place the number 1 marker in the 6 box and the number 10 marker there in the number 10 box. And we have 16 supply points. So let's go now to purchase our support units. And of course, we don't have to spend all 16. I'm not going to spend all 16 because maybe next turn I roll poorly and I will need to add some more points. And we have the one and only Jester. Nice to see you, Jester. You unboxed the game. I hope you like it. It's really interesting, and I think something, a breath of fresh air. We have also Robert O. Welcome. Okay, so the rules say that we always get 1 free Stuka, one free air unit each turn. So this one goes for free without spending any of our supply points into the available support units box. And now we have to spend, we have up to 16 points to spend. We're going to purchase both of the air support markers. So we've spent 6 here, still got 10, and we're gonna spend 7. We're gonna 7 of the 8 artillery support markers. So 7 plus 6, that's 13. So that means of the 16 that we started the game with, we are going to have 3 left, and we mark it accordingly there. So that's how much we're going to have. So let's let me place all these support markers here in the available support markers. So here they are, not very neatly though, but they're there. And now we go to the next phase, which is the combat phase. And when we talk about combat phase, it includes movement and combat. And in this game, the units that you see here, the German units, you see that they have 2 numbers. A number at the left is the combat rating. We use it in combat. And the number at the right is the number of movement points. And after units are activated, we have to flip them to their spent side. So if these units that you see here would be activated, we would flip them there to their spent sides. But of course, at the beginning of the game, they all are available. The logistical pause does not apply in the first turn. So we start by moving these units, and we want to move them to attack these Soviet units. And we don't know the strength of the Soviet units. We don't know also the special effect that each of the Soviet units have. You see here, that when we flip these units, you're going to see them, they're like this. They're going to have a number in red. That's the strength of the unit, which you see there. And then they're going to have a defense strategy, a special effect like heroes. And that particular effect, what happens is that it reduces our morale by 1 after combat resolution, even if we eliminate the Soviet unit. The only way to overcome that effect is that either we lose the battle, and that's what a repulse is, or that we overrun. We win the battle to such a degree that we overran the defenders, and then that nasty hero's effect doesn't occur. And you're going to see that the overrun cancels some of these strategies. The ambush strategy eliminates our lead attacking unit. Instead of being spent, it's eliminated. But of course, if the combat was a repulse that we lost, or an overrun, then we overcome that strategy. Barrage strategy is pretty nasty. We have to choose between placing one of the attacking units in the out of action box, that's like they're eliminated, prior to combat resolution, or we flip all attacking units to their spent sides and retreat them, and the attack doesn't even happen at all. So that's the barrage. And notice that overrun doesn't have an effect because there's no combat at all. Then we have the fanatic strategy. If the combat is a success, we win because our total attack value eventually is greater than the total defense value. We change it to the next level, which is a stalemate, and we ignore it. The only way of ignoring it is if we lose the combat, which is a repulse, or we have an outright stalemate from the start, or we achieve an overrun. So notice that the overrun is like the desired result, what you always want to have. And then this is really a really nasty one that you will see happening as we approach the Volga River. Guards. The Soviets normally roll 2d6 to add to their ratings. That's the element of luck element, is you roll 2d6 for the Soviets, and we roll 2d6 for our forces, and then we compare total attack value, total defense value. And if the German total attack value is greater, then we have a success. If it's the same, a stalemate, and if the Soviet defense value is greater, we then repulse. Now, in this particular strategy, the Soviets roll 3 dice instead of 2, and they drop the lowest result. And if the area is adjacent to the Volga, like, for example, the area that you see here, then in that particular case, the Soviets roll 4 dice instead of 2, and they drop the lowest 2 results. So those are the Soviet units that you will see in the game and the strategies that we will face each time they are flipped, and it only happens the turn that they are flipped. So let's start moving something so that you see how things work here. What we're going to do here is we are going to start by activating an area. In this game, you activate areas, and then you move the units in those areas. So to mark the area, we have a real nice Molotov cocktail here. We'll place it here. We're going to activate our units in Tsaritsa Woods. Notice that we have 2 armored battalions. They have a movement allowance of 6, so they will spend 2 to move to the adjacent area, which is right to the north, and it cost 2 because that area is adjacent to an area with a Soviet unit. So there's 2 of the 4 points. And now what they will do is they are going to spend 4 movement points, which is the cost to enter an area with an area with an unrevealed Soviet unit. So they use those 4 to enter here the hospital. And upon entering the hospital, now we reveal the Soviet unit, see what it is. And we see that it is an ambush strategy, that has an ambush strategy, and the unit has a defense value of 7. Let's spread out our units. And now we have 2 units. And now let's take a look at how we calculate the total attack value. The attack value for that, we'll look at the player aid here, and it's pretty straightforward, easy to commit to memory. So The attack value, we take the attack factor from any one attacking unit. And that's what is called the lead unit in the combat. So we have to pick a lead unit. And let's pick a lead unit. We'll pick the 7-6 is going to be our lead unit. And we then add 1 for each additional attacking unit. We have only 1 attacking unit. So we start at 7, add 1, we're at 8. And then we add 2 for each artillery or engineer. We'll bring those pretty soon. Plus 1 for divisional integrity. That is if we have 3 units from the same division. We don't. We only have 2 units from the same division. And to show you that, you see that color coding, that pink color coding, which is a very nice touch in this game, allows us to distinguish which units are in the same division. The attacking units that that are attacking the hospital are from the 24th Panzer Division, which is the number to the left of the slash. So we have those 2 battalions, and there's 2 more battalions to the south, and you see them there, but we don't have 3. You need 3 for the bonus, which is the plus 1 for divisional integrity. So we don't have it. And then finally, we have a plus 1 bonus because morale is strong. And that's the morale marker that we have in the 19th box. So to calculate our attack value, I'm going to do it very simply here. We have our lead unit with 7, right? We have an additional unit, 8. And we have our morale is strong, 9. And now we have to add support units. And the Soviet strength, we saw that it was a 7 and a plus 1 because of the terrain effects modifier for the Soviets. And that's the defense value. And let's take a look at what other things impact the defense value. We saw the defense factor of the Soviet unit, the terrain effects modifier. If German morale drops to 9 or less, that's what we showed you a little while ago. And we subtract 1d6 if there's an air support marker placed there. Okay, so now we still have to decide how many, if any, support markers we want to bring. Right now we see that the score there is we have 9 to 8, and we want to achieve an overrun because we see that ambush effect. That ambush effect is pretty nasty. Let's take a look at the ambush effect again. And the ambush effect means that we're going to lose a lead attack unit after combat if we don't cancel that ambush effect. And the way to cancel it is to lose the combat. We don't want that. Or achieve an overrun. So we have to stack that particular space with some significant support units. So we will bring, let's bring one of our air support markers there. Bring the air support marker. And we can bring one more. In this game, you can bring support units up to the number of units you're attacking with. And in this game, stacking limits are 4. So the maximum number of units we can have in an attack is 4. The lead unit plus 3 more units. And in that case, we could bring up to 4 support markers, but always a maximum of 1 air support. So we have our air support marker there, and we can bring 1 more. So what we will do is we will add an artillery marker. We can't do anything else. So now we have to roll to see the effect of the air support marker. But let's first add the artillery. Artillery gives us 2 more to our attack value, and now we roll 1d6 and subtract that from the Soviet defense. So let's do that now. Here we go. And the roll, a meager 1. So that is not good at all. That was pretty bad. So that means that the Soviet strength goes down to 7. Now, how do you achieve an overrun? You have to win the battle, and the difference between the total attack and total defense values, which we don't know yet, we haven't rolled the dice, has to be greater than the defense of the unit there. Now, the unit has a defense of 7, so the difference has to be 8 or more. So now we're going to roll the dice, and we're going to roll the dice here so that you can see how the calculations happen. So let's roll first for the Soviets. We roll 2d6 and add it to that 7, and they rolled a 5. So 5 plus 7 is 12. So now we have to roll, and let's see if we get a nice fat number. And the roll 6. So 11 plus 6 is 17. 17 minus 10 is 7. It's exactly the defense, equal to the defense of the unit. So that means we do not achieve an overrun. That's not good. So let's start by placing the used air support marker. We place it here in the used support marker box. That's what we do. And the other effect is now that normally, now we won the battle. The Soviet unit is eliminated, but normally what happens is both our units are spent, but because of that ambush effect, our lead unit, our lead attack unit is eliminated, and that really hurts. So that unit, which is our 7-6, is out of action. And we place the unit here in the out of action box. We can bring it back, but it's going to cost us 2 supply points. So that's how we start the game. And the other thing we have to do is, because we won that area, we place a German control marker there, and we adjust the number of areas under our control. At the beginning of the game, there's 9, and you see this ×1 marker here. So now what we do is we take the ×10, place it here, and we have 10. So we have 40 to go, and one of the 40 has to be an area which is adjacent to the Volga. Okay, so we eliminated that Soviet unit, and that was the first space that we activated, and we see it there. So now we get to activate another space, and I think what we will be doing is we will be activating this space, Dubovaya Woods, where you have the other 2 units of the 24th Panzer Division, and it will be simply to move those 2 units here to the hospital so that in the next turn we can use all 3 units and still have the, how do you call it, the divisional integrity bonus. And they can at least attack together. So that would be that particular movement. Okay, so we've moved those 2. Now we have also units that are up here in the northern part of the map with the optional rules, which I like to play. I don't think they add too much complexity. These units, the most they can move is to adjacent spaces to those starting spaces. And it's because these units were stretched thin. They were covering a large frontage. So with those units, you're not going to penetrate deep into the city. So we have those units. Now let's move some of our infantry. Let's get them into action here. We have down here, we see the 94th Infantry Division, and we see the 29th Division, which has a recon battalion. So let's get them moving. And if notice that the infantry has a movement allowance of 5. If we move here, they spend 2, and then they don't have enough to enter here. You need 4 to enter there. And we have 2 of these. 2 of these. So they could enter here into Minina. So we still have some resources there. So let's do that. Let's move those 4 units from where they are into Minina here. Now we're going to reveal the Soviet unit there. And we have a guards unit. Luckily, it has a strength of 5, which is not super strong, but it's a guards unit. So now we have to attack. Let's spread out our units and choose a lead unit. Now remember, the guards effect or strategy is that they roll 3 dice instead of 2, and they drop the lowest one. So we will be picking the Recon Battalion as our lead unit. There we have it. So that has a strength of 6. And we have 3 more units. So we're at 9. German morale is strong. We're at 10. And the Soviets have 5 plus 3 for the terrain, 8. So we have a plus 2 advantage. We will be bringing our air support unit. And we will be bringing 2 more artillery support units. So that is going to bring our attack value up by 4 to 14. So it's 14 to 8, which is not bad, but notice we still have to roll higher than the Soviets. We can bring 1 more artillery, and we will do so. This is not the time to fail. And this is the maximum number of support or support markers, 4, because we have 4 units. And now we're at 16, and the Soviets are at 8. Now let's resolve the battle here so that you can see how it's developing. 16 versus 8. And now let's have the Soviets roll 3d6, and we drop the lowest result. So here we go. And, oh, that's not bad. It's they dropped the 2. So the Soviets roll a 6. We add 6 to 8. The Soviets have 14. So let's mark it here, 14. And now to get the overrun, we should be able to get it. The unit, remember, the defense of the unit here, what is important is the defense factor of the unit, not the total defense value. It's the defense factor of 5. So our spread has to be 5. And now we get to roll. I mean, we have to roll really bad. We have to roll like a 2 or something. So here we go. We roll 2d6. And the roll is a 6 plus 16. That is 22. And the difference is 8. So that is an overrun. Okay, so that's good. And what happens is that we eliminate the guards. Okay, so guards are eliminated. And actually, the only effect for the guards is that they roll more dice. There's no other ill effect. We eliminate the support units. And we don't eliminate them. We place them in the use support unit box. And we have taken control of Minina there. We place a control marker there. Oh, there you go. So we've taken 2 areas for now. And also the rules specify that if we take an area that is worth 4, terrain effects modifier of 4, we add 1 morale to the track. So that's the only way we can add morale to the track. Otherwise, we lose morale with these random events, and from turn to turn, we lose morale also. So now the only thing we have to do is flip these units to their reduce, or to their, not reduce, spent sides. Okay, so that's it. And what do we have in terms of support? Because this also is going to dictate how many attacks we're going to make. We have 3 artillery and 1 air support marker left. So let's see what other attacks we can make. And we have some comments. Yes, this is an adaptation of the area impulse system, but no impulses because you're playing solo. And we got New York Raider fan. You're close to pulling the trigger. Well, I think you should pull it before the game runs out. I think they've sold a lot of copies of this game over there, Revolution Games. Yes, it's area impulse, but solo. And I think it's a very refreshing system. We got John Halley. Oh, I forgot the Stuka roll. You're right. Okay, it wouldn't have made a difference. You're right. And thinking about it, I think I overcommitted too many support markers actually there because I only had to win. I didn't need an overrun because the guard effect is going to happen anyway. That choosing dice, eliminating the lowest die is going to happen anyway. So you can tell I haven't played it too much. I'm just starting to enjoy the game, but I think it's a really, really refreshing addition to the area impulse genre, even though it's solo. So let's see if we can play another combat. For now, we're going to go until an hour. We have like 20 more minutes. So let's see here. Up here we have the 71st Division, 295th. And notice that these divisions are infantry divisions that have attached an armor battalion. So there's some of those that have those armored battalions attached. So with what we're going to do is with the 295th, we are going to move it here into Hill 98.9 with the attached armor battalion. And now we flip the Soviet unit there in that hill. And we get the really nasty effect of barrage with an 8. So let's spread out our units to see which unfortunate soul is going to be the lead attacking unit. Do we use that armored battalion? Let's take a look at what the barrage effect entails so that we can choose the correct lead unit. We have to either place one of the attacking units in the out of action box prior to combat resolution, or we have to retreat all units. Oh boy, so I think I'm going to place one of those infantry units in the out of action, because I'm not going to do this example just to show you how to retreat, right? We want to do some battles. So we're going to take that last 2-4 that you see there, and it's going to go to the out of action box. So we place it here. It's accompanying the 7-6 that we saw got blown to pieces the other time. So now we have 3 units to do the attack. We are going to select our lead unit, and our lead unit, where is my little peg here? If I can find it. I can't. Here it is. Okay, our lead unit is going to be the 5-6, of course. So that means that we start with a strength of, well, let's take the Soviet strength first. It's easy. 8 plus 2, 10. Soviets have 10. We have a starting lead unit of 5 plus 2 German units. That's 7. German morale is strong. 8. Okay. Now we have to choose support units. There's no divisional integrity bonus because that unit that you have there, the attached battalion, doesn't count for divisional integrity. The other unit that we did place out of action would have counted. So let's see how much support we want to add. Do we want to bring the Stuka in? Of course, I think that's the way to go. So we're going to use our 3rd air support marker. So we can bring 2 more support markers. We have 3 artillery units left. So that's going to be, let's see, cutting it close. Let's use 2 of the artillery units. Here we go. So that's going to add 4 more. 8 plus 4 is 14. And we have to roll, like I didn't do the other time, to see the effect of air support. We have currently 14. The Soviets have 10. So we roll 1d6 and subtract it from the Soviet defense value. And, Jesus, we roll a flimsy 1. So that reduces Soviet strength to 9. So now we roll 2d6s. Now for this particular result, we only have to win, actually, because the effect has happened already, and the strategy took place. That is, we lost one of our infantry units. But it's nice to win the combat. So let's roll first for the Soviets, 2d6. And they roll pretty good. An 8 plus 9, 17. Okay, we got 14. So now we roll 2d6. And we roll an 8. So 8 plus 14 is 22. The difference is 5. It's not an overrun, but an overrun wouldn't have had any effect anyway. So we win the battle. And we eliminate the Soviet unit. We have control of the space. Let's place our control marker and place our support units in the, call it in the used support units box. And we have to flip our 3 units to their spent sides. And now comes a tough decision, and it's a tough decision because look what we have left in terms of support. We've gone really very leisurely with support. So we have 1 artillery support marker. We have to decide if we want to make 1 attack somewhere we can win and not maul our forces. Now, we have to be thinking in terms of having our units accommodated for the next turn. So let's see what we can do here. We see, for example, that this division that attacked would be able to move here or here in their quest to get to near to the Volga. Now, our strongest column here, our strongest unit would be a 24th Panzer. It could go into Stalingradsky airfield, or we could have these units take Stalingradsky airfield and then have these panzers now move into either the central rail station, which if we take is going to add 1 morale point. And then we are adjacent to the Volga. So it looks like a sound strategy, even though we don't have the 4th unit from the 24th Panzer. So with all that in mind, maybe we can have these fellows here. See, these guys will not be able to reach in force Stalingradsky airfield in this turn because the infantry will spend 2 to enter here, and it needs to spend 4. So a total of 6. So that unit won't be able to help us, but at least they could move. Well, you have a maximum stacking allowance of 4 here. We can have, maybe we can have them borrow these tanks. So, you have a lot of decisions to make because their resources are not unlimited. And notice that to the north of here, all that we have left are these fellows here that cannot, using the advanced rule, the optional rules, they cannot go beyond the first line of areas there. So let's see what else we have to the south. We have this division, which is completely unimpressive here. It's just 3 regiments with no armored support. And during the second turn, we will be receiving reinforcements, which is this one, the 389th, which is 3 infantry regiments and an armored battalion. So there's not a lot of resources, not as many units as you would like So the decision, do we pull one attack? Maybe let's go with one of the units here in the north, just to keep things jumpy here. Let's have these two units move into Little Mushroom. So let's see how that battle goes there. They move there. Now we reveal the unit in the elevated terrain. Ooh, wow, that one is pretty nasty. And that one reads Fanatic. So what does Fanatic mean? Fanatic means that if the combat result is a success, it is changed to a stalemate. And we ignore this if we were repulsed or there was a stalemate or we achieve an overrun. So this, obviously, you want to achieve the overrun, but with the Soul Artillery Support Unit, it's going to be very difficult. So let's calculate the combat. So you're going to have an example of a desperate attack, so you get a pretty good idea of what a desperate attack looks in this game. So we start by designating our lead unit. The Soviets have 11. So our lead unit has 6. And we have another unit, so we're at 7. And we add the artillery support. So that adds 2 more points at 9. Morale is strong, so we are at 10. No, that we don't have air support. That's it. We have 10, they have 11. So that is not very promising. We need luck now. So let's have the Soviets roll first. And it's 11 plus 7. That is 18. So that's not bad for the Soviets. We need a really high roll now. So here we go. And we rolled an 8. And that's 10 plus 8 is 18 also. So we have a stalemate. And that's one of the ways in which the fanatic effect is ignored, because it's already a stalemate. Now, what happens when you have a stalemate? Because this is one of the things that you will see happening in the game that you don't want to happen. Let's see here. The first thing we do is the Soviet unit remains there. Let's take out the support marker. And our units are now spent. So we flip them to their reduced side. And these are the spaces where now it is considered a contested area. So in the next turn, we can bring units to the contested area, and we don't have to attack. You saw in all the examples that we had here, you had German units entering a Soviet space only with Soviet units. That is a mandatory attack. But if in the next turn we bring German units, additional German units here to Little Mushroom, we are not obligated to attack, because that is not a mandatory attack. That would be a contested area, okay? Now, contested areas in this game can be really nasty for us if the areas are light urban and heavy urban areas, like you see there, the sports park, Dzerzhinsky tractor factory. In those cases, at the beginning of the combat phase, if we have any contested areas where they're in those types of terrain, we have to roll in this bloody streets table. And look at what happens on a 1 to 4. Let's roll 1d6 just to find out here what would happen. In this particular result, 2, nothing. But if we would have rolled a 5, German morale is reduced by 1, and a 6, we would have to flip and spend a unit of ours, and reduce German morale by 1. So that's, if you have a lot of these spaces near the Volga, right? These spaces that you see here, these heavy urban and light urban spaces with units of both sides at the beginning of the turn, that is going to be a drain. And I think that is a very elegant way of the designer simulating the attrition, the meat grinder effect of what was Stalingrad, where the Germans were pouring in troops, the Soviets pouring in troops, and that is the effect there. very elegantly done. So I like very much that rule. So we've moved those units there. Let's see if we want to move any other units. Let's check here. And I'm going to let's move this infantry regiment that we see here, the ones in red, which is the infantry unit, the 94th. They are going to move from their area. They spend 2 to move north and 2 additional to Dobrovaya Woods, and they would all be now spent. They're not going to attack now. I think attacking would be like irresponsible. So we've only occupied 3 areas. We started with 9. I forgot to add the other 2 areas. So we have a total of 12 areas. No, how many? We captured 3. We had 9, so we're at 12. We got 12 areas. Okay. And we're at 56 minutes. So I'm going to leave it at that for today. I hope that you, take a look at the rules. I think the rules are online. The rules are very clear. Everything has been very well done. These cards are going to be available if you're interested in BGG. I've already uploaded them, but for some reason they're taking time to approve them. So this is just a reminder. So for you to remember, because the turns you can get involved in things. And then I'm going to also upload this. And this is not my idea. I saw on BGG somebody made a handwritten attack defense value track. And I think this is a wonderful idea to have, because in these games, there's a lot of factors that vary, that affect the attack and defense value. And this way, it's very simple to keep track of it without screwing up. So I like that very much. But I'm going to also upload that. And I'm going to, in the upload, I'm going to credit the wargamer, because I can't remember his name off the top of my head. So we got people who have the game on their radar. Cab. So thanks for tuning in. This is an unannounced video. We have 39 people. We got more people here today than during the bomb runs where I give away games. I'm not giving away anything today, but I think this is a series that I'm very interested in. I will keep on taking a close look at games in this series. I think the designer, Mike Rinella, has stated that I think his next one is Manila 1945 Urban Combat. And I think this is a very interesting system that can be used to portray many battles where you have at least one of the sides in a static position. And I would love to see things like movement on the AI side. It doesn't have to be sweeping movement, but maybe that will be added in little by little. And I think it is a system that is worth pursuing, something very refreshing, very straightforward rules, nice production values. This is the first mounted map board by Revolution Games, and the rules are in color and everything. Very nice production. So I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in, and I will see you next Sunday. We'll have a live bomb run, and the game's going to be Land and Freedom. So I want to thank you for tuning in. And as I always say, this is Stuka Joe signing off for now. Thanks for watching.